All right, welcome to Peeps Creek, the cafe where we serve you delightful, slightly intense, but definitely worthwhile conversations. A podcast focused on bringing people together by drinking, listening, and conversing. So grab your favorite drink and let's see what's on today's menu. All right, people, welcome to Peeps Creek, the cafe where you can sit at our table, have your favorite drink, and listen to some slightly intense but definitely worthwhile conversations. That is a old introduction there, but I haven't said it in a while, so I felt like I wanted to say it here. I am Sean. I'm your host, and today you are on episode 40. Episode 40 is Detoxification of Toxic Relationships. And you know, here at the cafe, we always have something to drink on while we have this conversation. And I am drinking on some hot tea. I don't know if you can see the steam coming from that, but just by holding this cup, my hands are as hot as hell. All right. And I am joined in the cafe by Christian. Say hello to the people, Christian.
Hello.
All right, Christian. And what are you drinking on today?
I am not drinking on anything.
Wow, bruh.
I had a bunch of coffee this morning, so I'm a little jittery. So if I'm looking everywhere, it's because I'm energized, and I also had a ton of water. So that's why I didn't want to drink anything. Because if I drink something now, I will definitely be getting up mid-conversation, and I didn't want to do that.
All right. So what kind of coffee did you have today then?
It was a venti iced latte with an extra shot and almond milk. So,
okay. Was it good?
Yeah, it was coffee.
All right. All right. So are you ready to get into today's conversation?
Yeah.
All right. So let's go to the bar. All right. So we are here at Peeps Creek, the cafe. This is episode 40. It is entitled Detoxification of Toxic Relationships. And to spearhead that conversation, we are going to talk about some events that occurred in between 2016 and 2018 in good old Shreveport, Louisiana. Is that right?
Yes.
Have you ever been to Louisiana?
Nope.
Mardi Gras? Nothing?
No. I've never been to Mardi Gras.
What do you wait? Why have you been to Louisiana?
Why would I go?
You need to visit everywhere in the United States.
I'm okay. We're in a pandemic.
Okay. Is that just because of the pandemic, or you
No,
said...
I just haven't gone.
But you've already communicated that you want to go to Mardi Gras. Is that accurate?
Yeah.
Good.
But I haven't gone. And that's New Orleans. I wouldn't go to whatever.
Shreveport, Louisiana is not that far from New Orleans.
Well, I wouldn't go and explore Louisiana. I would go to New Orleans for Mardi Gras.
Okay.
And that's about it.
All right. So we are going to talk about a case that occurred in 2018 is when it kind of sparked headlines relating to a couple, well, actually two individuals. I think there has been multiple interpretations as to whether or not they were a couple or just sexual partners, what have you. But for the purposes of this conversation, I'm going to refer to them as being in a relationship. Would you disagree with that?
No, I'd say it was like an open relationship in their own way.
All right. So we are down in, I've said this before, but I love saying that word, Shreveport, Louisiana. We are visiting two individuals that I think both of them came from Cato Heights, which is in Shreveport, Louisiana. It is a community that is primarily African American, and individuals who know anything about Cato Heights has indicated that it is kind of an impoverished area, but people's spirit is still high. Would you kind of agree with that interpretation of at least what we saw?
Yeah.
All right.
And the girl we were talking about, she was one of I want to say a very popular person there. Mm-hmm. Everyone kind of knew her.
Right. And the spotlight on Facebook, right? Facebook Live, social media.
Yeah, but apart from that, everyone kind of knew her as a bright, spirited, lovely person. Right. Everyone really liked her.
A go-getter.
Sure.
Yeah, because she's like started her own business and all of
True,
that. Like she
true.
was a go-getter. All right. So who we're talking about, let's put some names to this. It is Renita. They call her Nunu Williams. She was 27 at the time that she died. Just disclaimer out there. Let me spoiler alert. She ultimately is victimized, and what I'm going to categorize as a horrific domestic violence situation dealing between two individuals who were involved with each other. And then we have a Jonathan Robinson, who was 36 years old at the time of his actions in this particular case. Now, before we start talking about the end result, the toxic aspect of the relationship, let's talk a little bit about who these two individuals were, at least as we understood. Now, disclaimer: we don't have any kind of personal relationship with either of them or their families, but it is something that we saw on TV. On the ID channel, and then some additional research and listening to kind of some confession tapes or confession from Jonathan Robinson about what happened. But Renita Williams was a 27-year-old, as I said. She was a mother of three. At the time, she had a 13-year-old, a 7-year-old, and a 4-year-old. And she also had two older brothers and her mom. I think her and her mom lived together, as well as maybe, at least as it was presented, at least one of the brothers lived there in the house with them, or was at least around all the time. So Renita was an individual who, as I understand, enjoyed social media.
Facebook, to be exact.
Okay, Facebook, to be exact. And why did you make that
because that's
distinction?
all they talked about. It was no Instagram. It was always just Facebook.
And a lot of it was her putting her feelings and thought processes out there on Facebook without any indication or care about what other people's thought.
Yeah.
Right.
She's very outspoken.
Very outspoken, and there's nothing wrong with that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think one of her mottos that individuals said her motto was "hated by many, confronted by none." That was her motto. And actually, if you still go to her Facebook page, you will see that motto at the very top of her page, as well as some of her additional posts. And I think you get an indication or a glimpse that she was an individual who knew what she wanted, knew what she meant to say, and said what she said, how she said it, how she felt it.
Yeah.
All right. So talk us a little bit about this relationship. Tell us a little bit that you recall about the relationship as we understand it.
Well, from what they showed in the documentary, it was Renita and Jonathan. They were in, I am going to say open relationship, but it was kind of one-ended.
What do you mean one-ended?
Jonathan had another lady that he was seeing in Houston, Texas. Mm-hmm. So it was about 4 hours away from Renita lived, and Renita, they were both aware of each other. So they both knew that Jonathan was seeing both of them.
And just for clarity, that person's name is Sharika Taylor.
Sharika Taylor, yes.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
And she was 38 at the time?
36.
36.
Oh, no, she was 38.
Yeah, because she was older. And yeah, so he was kind of possessive. I don't think he wanted her to be seeing anyone else.
But why did you say it was one-ended? You said it was a one-ended relationship, open relationship. What does that mean?
Again, like, he didn't want her seeing anyone else, but he could do that. He could go and like have a whole nother mistress, even though they weren't married. I think her and Sharika were married, right? Him and Sharika were married.
No, they were not married. He was just with her for about 4 or 5 years, allegedly, according to him. But they lived together in Houston, Texas. Mm-hmm. But yes, as presented in the documentary, it showed that the relationship was, quote unquote, the sense of Jonathan Robertson had the ability to mingle with, have relations with Sharika
and Renita.
He lived with Sharika, and then when he would drive and visit Renita, he would drive, visit, and they would have their type of relationship. Yeah. Okay. But I think it is clear, at least as it was presented, that that she could not date, see, or interact with any other males.
Yeah.
Right. Now, you catapult that and fast forward to when he gives his confession, and what he indicates is that they were not in a relationship. They were just sleeping buddies.
Yeah, that same day or that weekend, they had sex.
But when he was asked about the extent of their relationship, he kept saying that we were not in a relationship, that we were not a couple, we were never a couple, we were just hanging out with each other. Essentially, what he tries to convey.
Yeah.
Do that. All right. So,
which, let me just say, the documentary and his confession,
polar opposite.
Yeah, it what we saw in the documentary was not what he said. Kind of was the same thing, but kind of not. Like, there were details that he mentioned that were not
like what?
mentioned. Like the whole Sharika thing and how she was unstable and suicidal.
She
and
had a mental
illnesses and all that.
He claimed she had a mental illness. Yes.
Yeah.
And claimed that Renita knew about the mental illness, and as a result of her knowledge of that, she latched on to that and attacked Sharika based upon her mental, is what he alleges.
Which I feel like that was a very important thing. If Renita knew about it, or if anyone else knew about it, because I'm pretty sure Renita would have told her, like, cousins, because they were best friends, salt and pepper. If she knew about it, I'm pretty sure she would have told her.
So what are you saying?
That was something important that I'm not like saying that. I'm not trying to
give an excuse
for Jonathan and what he did, but that they just missed a lot in the documentary that I feel like should have been put in there.
Assuming that's true.
Yeah, that's true.
Assuming that's true, because what we don't hear from is in the documentary, you don't hear any commentary from Jonathan's perspective, either through his friends or family, or Sharika, either through herself or her friends. But quite frankly, I mean, honestly, what I would say is this. I think that the intent and purpose of that documentary was to show the victim's perspective and not really give a platform for Jonathan or Sharika. And quite frankly, I don't care if it's true or not about her mental state.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it had no reason or justification for the actions that occur in the end result, right?
And she was well aware of what he was doing.
Right.
So.
And both of the females, at least according, both Renita and Sharika were aware of each other. So with that perspective, let's pause it for a moment about the documentary, and let's just talk that through in regards to the whole topic of detoxification of toxic relationships. And so neither one of us are experts in relationships, right?
I'm a little toxic. I'm just kidding.
Okay, then you have some personal perspective of what toxicity in relationship.
No, I'm not toxic. Okay. I'm just kidding.
Now, so first of all, do you think that scenario, the scenario of Sharika and Renita on opposite ends of one another, with Jonathan in the middle, and him having access to both, it seemed as if at his whim and at his pleasure, did you find that setup to be toxic?
Of course.
Why?
Because it's always like anyone that has like an open or even if you want to say like friends with benefits or an open relationship, I feel like at some point, if you're hanging out with someone so much, you're gonna end up catching feelings, and it's not gonna end pretty. Because he wasn't gonna leave Sharika, and he also didn't want to leave Renita or let Renita live her life.
But why do you think he wasn't going to leave either one?
Because he was still coming back. And in the documentary, showed once Renita was like, it's over, we're done, he wouldn't leave her alone. She went on dates. His friends would follow them and take pictures, send it to her, this and that, and then
send it to him.
Send it to him, and he'll send it to her. She blocked him on everything. He showed up at the club, and he was just possessive, according to the documentary.
Yeah. So from my perspective, let me answer it this way, from a general perspective, and then as it relates to the facts as we understood them from this particular situation. Is that situation in and of itself a setup for toxicity? I don't know. I don't think so. I think that if people know and have forward communication, right, and expectations are set and understood, I think presumably it could work, which is why you have I think I talked about this in one episode. Either it was a happy hour or something, or maybe the relationship went, or the ghosting, the polyamorous relationships. There's a whole documentary on Stars, I think it's Stars or HBO, one of them, about I think like 3 seasons of couples being in these polyamorous relationships, because the perspective is that you can love multiple people and be involved with multiple people without it being toxic, because everyone understands. Now, that's from a general perspective. But with that said, what I gleaned from those relationships in that documentary is what you just said. Inevitably, someone's feelings or someone's perspective gets out of line about what the communication is or what the expectation is for this three-way, right? And in this particular situation, I would say that from the fact specific related to Renita, Jonathan, and Sharika, it was toxic from the beginning. And I think that it was toxic from the beginning because I don't think there was clear communications about who's who was considered the girlfriend, who was not considered a girlfriend, who was considered potentially a side piece, who was not considered a side piece. And at the end, I felt like both women began to attack each other instead of attacking the motherfucker who should have been attacked, which was Jonathan.
I was about to say that, yeah, I think that social media didn't help at all, and the fact that, like, they were both going at each other because there were words exchanged through Facebook.
It was like it wasn't single post, a phone call,
yeah,
right?
Every single post was to like get at each other.
Mm-hmm.
And let me just say, I feel like you have some sort of like fantasy with like polyamorous relationships. And
why?
I don't know. You talked about it so much.
Because I think that it is an important perspective. I think people can love different people at the same time. The strength and level of that love, I think, takes a different step. But I think you're also taking the perspective that polyamorous means sex with multiple people at the same time. I'm not even talking about the sexual aspect.
Yeah, I'm not talking about
I'm
that.
talking about specifically the concept of love. I take it the same perspective of if you have multiple children, you can love all of your children and you can love them differently, but always make them feel loved. I think so from my perspective, I do think that there is the ability to love. I don't think it's equal. I think even with people who are, well, let's take it outside of a relationship. You have brothers and sisters. Do you feel like y'all all are loved the same equally?
No, but I feel like as a parent, you can't, like, parenting wise, I feel like that's different. Like if we're sticking with like this, right? Like the show,
mm-hmm.
They're talking about a relationship, and I don't know. I feel like that can get very sticky. Even if you like have communication, I feel like it could still end up like a mess.
From my perspective, I mean, we don't have to agree.
Yeah.
The fundamental perspective of love, I think, can be shared amongst multiple people. But it's important for people to, at least from my perspective, that it can't be equal, no matter how you divvy up.
True.
All right. So back to what I was saying, I felt like the setup between these three was toxic from the beginning. I don't think, I mean, again, I wasn't involved in there. I don't know them personally, but just by what we were able to view, the stories between the mom, from the brother, from the cousin, and listening to the confession and doing additional research, I don't think there was clear communication in regards to who was who and what in that relationship. That's what I'm saying. Okay. So the further complication of that is the advent of social media, right? So what do you think about that? Do you think that had there not been social media in the middle, that perhaps the confusion between the three could have dissipated?
There's a chance of that, yeah. I feel like, I don't know. I feel like they mentioned on the documentary that Renita was ready to settle down, this and that.
Mm-hmm.
And that wasn't going to happen with Jonathan. He didn't want to settle down. He wanted to keep what they had. Mm-hmm. So I feel like at one point Renita would have gotten tired either way. and maybe would have ended the same way. She just wouldn't have had a platform where she could go off the way she did.
Okay. Now, let's talk about the social media posts. Did you feel that she being Renita, at any point was wrong in regards to how she approached things using her social media?
I feel like from the documentary and how it portrayed her personality and everything was, some of the posts that she posted may not have been directly to Sharika, but I could see how Sharika would see it that way. So then she would post something else and it would just be a back and forth type thing. I don't know. I don't think she really, other than the video, but I mean, like, Sharika made that video first, and if you want to
what video? I guess we might as well say what happened.
So Sharika posted a video or went live on Facebook saying that, like, Renita was like stealing her man and like still contacting her, this and that, and then Renita went live and was like, let me put this straight, like, I broke up with him, he's my ex-boyfriend.
And basically he's still chasing
her, me, this and that, and that was that. And that's what like set Sharika and Jonathan off mainly. And yeah, I think that was that like ending of everything. Yeah, in a way.
Yeah, but I don't think anything that she posted, like, I went and looked at some of the posts. Yeah, she said what she had to say. Like, it's her, at the end of the day, it's her Facebook. I think Sharika and Jonathan had the ability, the option to just not follow her, or don't look at her stories, or don't look when she goes live, or don't look at her posts. Now, I know there are some complications with that, allegedly, in regards to Sharika purportedly having some kind of mental issues. Okay, I'm saying allegedly and purportedly not because I don't believe them, but because we only hear that from the confession that Jonathan gives to the police, right? The recorded confession. Okay, but putting that aside, I do feel like social media, particularly in today's society, that social media plays a big role in relationships, unnecessarily, and I think, in my opinion, to the detriment of relationships. Like, some folks be like, "Oh, you never post me. Why don't you post me?" This, that, and the third. But your relationship really is about the folks who are in it. And the more you give access to people who may not have your best interest in heart, who may not want you to succeed as a couple, or, putting that aside, who just are miserable, and misery loves company.
And in regards to that, I'm like, so why be like friends or follow or whatever with those type of people if you know that's the type of people they are?
But you don't know that. I mean, you don't know. I mean, you don't have social media. You don't have a personal interaction with every person you follow or who follows you. Yeah. You don't have an intimate relationship with them. You don't sit and go out and have intimate conversations about you as a person with these people. These are just networks of folks, right?
True.
And so if that was the perspective, I think most people will only have 10 or 15 followers, because those are the people, maybe, if even that large, people who you would consider personal friends.
Yeah.
Right? Now, maybe what people do is, now that the advent of the close friend circle on Instagram, maybe that's a solution to it. But still, it's like social media, I do think, gets in a way to the detriment of relationships, because I feel like you start focusing on pleasing other people. Like for instance, this whole Derek Jackson, I don't know if you even saw it, and his wife.
I don't know who that is.
Yeah, they got on Instagram to talk about him cheating. He's this relationship quote unquote guru, who now takes a perspective of preaching and teaching folks, allegedly, how to have successful, healthy relationships, and it's all supposed to be guided by principles of God, X, Y, and Z. So They went on Instagram together, posted like an 8-minute video. If you look at the video, you could see that the two of them together in that video, in that moment, is odd. It's tension, obviously, that they're trying to convey that they are okay, right? And then she goes later and posts a 7-minute video with her wearing like this army fatigue and a hat, and she's talking about she got the breastplate of righteousness and the bonnet of that hat of armor or something, trying to once again defend her relationship with this person. And I'm like, why do you need to do all that? That is for the intimacy of you and the other individual involved. And so the cataclysm that happens with that is you have social media, you have two people trying to be in a relationship and trying to be in a relationship with all of their followers. And I just don't think that's healthy. I think it's toxic. I think that it begins to take away from what you're doing in that relationship. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
All right. Because it looked like I was boring you.
No, it's the coffee.
Like,
I'm like all over
shut the hell up. All right. Okay, so let's go back to this situation. So Renita then says, look, this isn't working for me, right? This little three-way, whatever is going on.
Yeah, she breaks it off.
She breaks it off, right? She starts.
And goes on Facebook.
I'm single, ready to mingle, blah, 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 boom, 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 right? So then she started meeting and I think started dating this guy named Nordy.
Yeah,
right?
they met at a club. He asked for her number.
Right.
And
he knows her cousin Trina. And one thing led to the other, and they started dating because at one point there's some text message communications, if accurate, that says she says I love you to him, right? But while they are out and about together, like what happens?
Some of Jonathan's friends pull up. So Jonathan still had a lot of friends in the area that Renita lived in, and they pull up in a car and they were taking pictures. And at the time, what was his name?
Which one? Nordy?
Nordy is the date, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Nordy. He wasn't aware of everything that was going on. So he was like, what's going on? And Renita tries to play it off like, I don't know.
Yeah.
But they're clearly taking pictures of them.
Or videos or something and sending it to him.
Yeah, and then at one point at one of those dates, I guess a friend sent it to Jonathan, and Jonathan texted Renita, and it was a picture of both of them in the booth, which was creepy as fuck.
Why?
Because it was from right behind them. They were in the same like cafe or wherever they were, restaurant, and for someone to send you a picture of like Jonathan wasn't physically there. It was one of his friends.
Right.
Like, that's just weird.
But what do you think Jonathan was attempting to signal there?
That he had eyes everywhere.
Yeah. And I think it was a power.
Yeah.
I think it was a power dynamic to let her know that the only decision about when this relationship ends is mine.
Yeah.
And so you don't get to tell me that we're no longer together. I tell you when this is over and it's not over, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So they continue to go through this back and forth. Jonathan attempting to put his reach and power over her. And so eventually it all comes to a head, I think on April the 12th or April the 16th, 2018, right? Am I missing anything in between before we move to that part?
No, I think that was the last thing of the documentary before everything went down.
Yeah. So April the 12th, 2018, what we see in the documentary, or at least, well, it's not technically a documentary. You know how ID do they take liberal construction reenactments and stuff like that. But on April 12th, 2018, purportedly, Renita sends her children to school. It's a school day.
It was around 10 a.m.
Yep. And all of a sudden,
banging on the door.
Jonathan comes in. His name is Jonathan, right? Jonathan comes banging on the door. She basically tells him
to leave.
You shouldn't be here. Blah blah blah. He basically is like, nah, I'm coming in, and he kicks the door in.
Yeah.
Right. Now with his confession, you don't get all that. All you get from him is he kicks the door in. But that's the clarity. He basically pushes his way in because he controls the situation. Right. And so then what happens?
So he comes in, and then Renita's like, leave, like, you shouldn't be here, whatever. It looks like he left, but then, so she closes the door, and that's when he kicked the door in.
Yeah.
So he was banging on a door, and then Renita was like, no, you can't, you shouldn't be here, like, leave, this and that, we're over. And it sounds like he left, and then he comes back, kicks the door in, and has an AK-47.
No, but he that's after. So remember, according to the documentary or the show, he kicks the door in, comes in, tells her what's going on, why you put that post, and she's like, leave. She was like, you know what, I'm gonna leave. He goes out, then he goes back and comes in with the AK-47.
Okay,
yeah, right. And Renita's mom and her brother is there.
Renita's mom was in like the kitchen, and her brother was with Renita in the living room.
Right. According to the
show, yeah.
The confession, he says it totally different. He doesn't know where the mom is. He didn't know that she was there. It started in the bedroom. And the brother was apparently hiding in the closet.
Yeah.
Is what he says in his confession. Whether that's true or not, I don't know.
Yeah.
But I don't think any of those facts matter. The bottom line is there's 3 individuals in that house. Yeah. The mom, Renita, and the brother, right?
Yeah, so when Renita's mom sees that he has a gun, she's like, I'm going to call the cops, this and that. So she like runs... Or she like starts to run out the house.
Right.
And he shoots, but misses.
Right.
It like flew by her ear. So she runs to the neighbors, calls the cops and everything. And he's just going crazy. He's like going live and he wanted an apology to Sharika. And you want to take it from there?
Sure. So he basically is demanding that Sharika goes on live. She can't go on live because she's been blocked for banned for that moment. She can't go in, so he forces her to go on her brother's live, right? And to apologize. And if you Google it, you'll see the video, the actual video. And so he's basically said, you should apologize. Why did you do this? Blah, blah, blah. I keep telling you, you want to be famous, BITCH. I'm going to make you famous. These types of things, right? Yeah. And you see him in the video, you literally see him towering over her back and forth as she's on the floor making this video. Now, prior to her beginning the video, he shoots her in the leg so that she can't move.
So that's why she was on the floor?
Correct. So he shoots her with the AK-7 in the leg. Police are arriving, and he basically gets into a shootout with the police, right? And it goes on, I think, for hours, the standoff between them, right? And so he called Sharika and basically said, go on live, you're about to get the apology that you deserve. She's about to apologize, boom, boom, boom. And so Sharika apparently, I'm assuming, goes on Facebook to look at this, right? And so it goes on, keep shooting. The police are being pushed further and further away from the house because he is shooting with an AK-47.
Yeah.
Like, AK-47 go through concrete.
And at this point, the police is like surrounding the whole house.
Right.
Yeah.
And so at this point, I think Jonathan is at a point of no return in regards to the fact that he had set in his mind, I think, and we'll talk about his confession in a moment, he set in his mind what he was planning to do.
Yeah.
Right? And so ultimately, at the end of the day, he kills her on Facebook Live.
Yeah. I think she was shot 4 times.
Yeah.
And on the documentary, it shows that once was it the first time he shot her? Mm-hmm. That the brother runs out?
No, it's it's towards the end. Once he shoots her, he realizes there's nothing I can do. There's no way out.
Yeah.
And so he attempts to escape, which he does. But in the process of him attempting to escape, this guy is shooting at him, right? Yeah. And so we had a young, vibrant individual who was doing her own thing, got her own business, had 3 beautiful children, and was for all intents and purposes, a socialite in that area, right? And she had her life snuffed away by this, I'm just going to call him a fucking idiot. I don't know what other word to use.
Psychopath.
From Jonathan Robinson, right?
Yeah.
All right, so that is the gist of that relationship, and that's how that relationship concludes. But he gives a tape confession And what you hear on the tape confession is that the police says you're under arrest. They gave him his Miranda rights for second-degree murder. What does he say?
He says that he's like, no, I should be getting first degree. I think I wrote down exactly what he said. He says that he should be charged with first-degree murder instead of second-degree because he knew exactly what he was doing.
He planned it.
Yeah, he planned to go and kill her.
Right. He knew that day. He said he woke up that day. He knew he was going to kill her. Mm-hmm. Right. Now, when you listen to this, it's about
30 minutes.
About 30 minutes of him giving his confession, and you understand from this confession, at least from his point of view, that ultimately he made it in his mind to snuff out this person's life because of a Facebook catfight, is what I'm going to call it, between Sharika and Renita.
And I think we missed something from the show that I think was important. At the end, so when he gets like his sentencing and everything, it's life in prison plus 100 years. And they were trying to get the death penalty. Right. But the family was like, Renita's family, or at least her mom, she was like, she was opposed to it. She didn't believe in like death or anything or like killing anyone. Mm-hmm. But she wanted him to like rot in prison. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say all that at the end, but that's fine. You can say that. I do think that's important. I think that shows the incredible strength of her mom. Her name is Anita Williams. Yeah. That to have to deal with the loss of your daughter, right?
And some of her son as well, because
her son, no, she didn't lose her son.
I know, but I'm talking about like
she lost him his vibrantness because of what he witnessed. He kind of, according to them, he kind of died too internally, seeing his sister be killed like that in person, and based upon someone who purportedly was like a father figure in these three individuals, her kids' lives. Now, what shocks me and what irritates me particularly is that had those children been there, it could have resulted to even worse in regards to the children. Yeah. Because I don't think he was in a frame of mind to be concerned about anything. Because when he gave his confession, he says he didn't know the mother was there, but he heard her voice and he got irritated. He just started shooting. Yeah. Right. And so it's like, how can you be so callous and have such disregard for someone's life? And these types of things happen in toxic relationships. It may not go to the extreme of killing, but you prick away and you chip away at the spirit of individuals each and every day when you're going through these types of things, right? Yeah. All right. So, and his whole point of doing this was he said he needed to protect Sharika.
Because she was unstable. That's when we learn about that she, according to him, that she was unstable and had mental illnesses and was suicidal
and couldn't take much.
And what Renita did like really set her off, this and that. Mm-hmm. And what I mean about that is the whole video on Facebook. From what we saw, Sharika was the one that did it first.
I mean, yeah, they were antagonizing each other. Like,
so I'm like, if you have the balls to do all that, then grow the fuck up.
Yeah. You're talking about Sharika.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the thing is, what also irritated me in this confession is that he says that him and Sharika got into it maybe 3 to 4 days before the murder, right? Yeah. He basically leaves the house in Houston. And they get into it because of allegedly this video that Renita goes on live and do. Yeah. Right? Or does. And so then he drives to Shreveport, and according to him and Renita still get into relations that day.
They like slept
or that weekend,
that Friday, yeah,
and Saturday, according to him. Yeah. Right, went out to a party. They both were there, right? And then the next day on Sunday, he wakes up with this epitome that he wants to kill her, right, and have a shootout with the police, right? And it baffles me, that Sharika was able to talk him into coming out the house, right?
And like Sharika knew
exactly. He told her before
on that same day, because it couldn't have been on a Sunday because they had school, so it was like on
Monday. Yeah, sorry. Or Tuesday, whatever day. Yeah, but she knew ahead of time what he was planning on doing, because he told her You don't have to worry about, I'm tired of people taking advantage of you or making you laughing at you. You don't have to worry about that. I'm going to protect you. And she was like, he was basically saying that Sharika asked him, what are you going to do? He said, I'm going to kill Nunu.
Yeah.
So, and Sharika apparently does nothing with that information, even though she knows that someone's life is in danger.
He says that she thought that he was lying, or he was just playing this and that. But I'm like, at the end of it, right before he shot her, like, he called you.
Right.
And you were like, what are you doing? He was like, don't worry about it.
Right.
Like,
and when you hear the tape, you hear him kind of crying, but I feel like he's more concerned about the well-being of Sharika, not the fact that he snuffed up someone's life inappropriately.
Yeah.
Right? And it I don't know, it just irritated me. And for her to go on Facebook Live, for him to call Sharika in the midst of the crime, and her, at least we don't see anything or hear anything, and her not do anything with that, it's baffling. I mean, it's very, I don't know, it is annoying. And so then that is another issue, I think, in regards to toxicity in relationship, is that, let's assume for the sake of argument that she does have mental, she does have, he called her unstable.
Yeah.
Right? And he says she's not as strong as Renita. And the only way that he could help her is to remove Renita, because that relationship or those two interaction would no longer be a threat to his interaction with Sharika, basically, right? But that issue of her having mental or being unstable, I also think that was a power grab for her, in the sense that she knew that this was something that she had control over him on, because she knew that he was more concerned and caring about her mental state and what other people was thinking about her.
Yeah.
Do you disagree with that?
No, you're right.
Yeah. And that goes also back, I think, to the whole putting your relationship out on blast on social media, because people, sometimes it's just not healthy for you.
In this case, it was definitely not healthy, because everyone knew that he was seeing both of them.
Right. It wasn't a secret.
Like at the club, like some girl was like, "Oh, isn't she?" Talk about Renita. Isn't she like the side piece?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, and then that's Renita like went off. But it's like that in that regards, yes. Like, don't be putting your shit out there. Like, if you both know about each other, then leave it at that.
Yeah.
Like, why is there so much tension? And yeah, Renita tried to like end it, but it's also like on his crazy ass. Like,
yeah,
it's mostly on his crazy ass. Like, if she ended it, you should have just left it at that.
Yeah. And it's like, bruh, all of this could have been avoided had you been man enough. And I'm just going to use this word because some of the commentary or the commenters in the documentary were saying that Renita was attacking his manhood. And I'm like, that isn't a justification for you to go and behave the way you are. You did. If you want to show that you are a true man, you honor the wishes of that particular person. Renita said that she wanted to end it. Honor that. And if you all were to get together thereafter, so be it. You all can do that in a mutual time and space. But you don't get to basically be the judge, the executioner, and the jury.
You don't get
the
to
judge,
dictate
jury,
someone's life.
Yeah, it's like it was so frustrating to see this particular situation unfold. And you have to hear and look and know and recognize the signs early on of people being toxic. And I'm not saying that you have to, again, I'm not Dr. Phil. I don't really like your show anyway. But I do think you have to realize what you can take, what you can accept, what you are okay with. If you're okay with someone giving you 40% or 20% of themselves or 30% of themselves, then you be okay with that. But you need to understand that's all you're getting.
Yeah.
If you want equity or you want equality or you want someone to be able to give you that 50-50, which I don't think there's ever going to be 50-50 in a relationship, but putting that aside, if you want that, you have to be willing to not accept less. Right. And I also think, I know I've been talking a lot. Sorry. I also think you can't shape and mold people. right?
At all.
People are who they are. They can improve, and you can be a vessel to help them improve. But it requires them to want to improve and use whatever you can provide to them as tools to get there, right? But when people start thinking about, oh, they could change, I could change them, and this, that, and that, you can't do that.
Yeah.
It's just not something that you can do. But yeah, so anything else we're missing about that particular
No, I feel like we covered it all.
Topic? It's just unfortunate. For those of you who want to see the documentary, it's on or the show is Webalized, the investigatory or the Investigation Discovery channel, ID channel, and it's called Social
Murder Goes Live.
Yeah, Murder Goes Live or something. Facebook Live, yeah, whatever. And unfortunately, there is the video of the murder. Full view is actually out on the web. I did not watch it. I couldn't bring myself to watch it because I felt like I would be participating in toxicity by doing that. But to the family, to the Williams family, I do. If anyone out there knows them or listen, if any of them listen, I give my condolences to the loss of your loved one. It's unfortunate that we have to sit here and talk about her in the past tense, right?
Exactly.
Should be talking about her, what she's doing now and things of that nature. But he is in jail, life without the possibility of parole, plus 100 and
he's gonna rot there. It was just 100 years.
Plus 100 years.
Yeah.
Basically means he's never gonna get out, which is
great. Excellent. In my opinion.
Yes. All right. So that is the episode for today. I am Sean. Thank you all for being out here with us. We greatly appreciate it. I want to thank Christian for being there. Christian, you want to say some last words out there?
Goodbye.
That's it?
That's it.
Like no kind of like...
you always expect like a grand exit. I'm like, no, just goodbye.
You need to be happy. Like, see y'all
It
later.
was a great... I'll see you guys on the next episode. I'm not going anywhere.
All right, until next time, continue to drink, listen, and converse. Peace and
love.
All right.